living in the end of times. Where is the love we once used to know? Where is the kindness we used to show? The heart of man is so full of hate. Let's make a change before it's too late. Too much killing, too much blood spilling. Each and every morning, it's weeping and mourning. We've got to stop all the crimes, erase the violence, let our voice be heard. We can't sit in silence. The hope of tomorrow is in our use today. We've got to live in love. Crime and violence don't pay.
All right, good morning once again to all of the listeners of WEFM. This is Activated Mornings with Roleza and Dianna. And at this time, as usual on a Thursday morning, we are in our Cop Chat segment. Today, joining us in studio, we have Mr. Joel Williams, who is a detective corporal in the Criminal Records Office, Mr. Dilford Collins, detective constable in the Major Crimes Unit, and Mr. Nikos Hope, detective constable in the Major Crime Unit. And they are here to speak on the topic, first at the scene, how you can help preserve justice. Gentlemen, good morning. Go ahead, you can go ahead and one in.
Good morning.
I wonder if we have Shine amongst us as we're trying to figure out what's going on.
All right, so I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself so the listeners can know which voice goes with which name, and feel free to start.
Yes, so good morning again. My name is Detective Corporal 693 Williams. I am a crime scene specialist in the state of Siemens and the Grenadines.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Detective Constable number 120 Collins, Dilford Collins. I have been attached to the Major Crime Unit for the past 4 years. I have been a police for 10 years and a detective for 10 years. And I hope that this morning's program would be a very informative one.
Blessed morning to everyone. I am Nikos Hope, Detective Constable number 446. I'm attached to the Major Crimes Unit. For the past 6 months, I've been a detective for the past 5 years in my 7 years of service in the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force.
All right, then, and just to note that 2 detectives here have received awards. So Hope was awarded in 2024 for Best Detective at Major Crime, and Collins was also awarded for his contribution at Major Crime. So detectives, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The Major Crimes Unit is in CID. Is it a part of CID?
Yes,
No?
please, we're attached to.
Okay. All right then. So to start, tell us, what are some of we're talking about first at the scene, how you can help preserve justice. And if I remember correctly from previous interviews, CID is supposed to be among the first at the scene, right? Detectives of the CID. Right, correct?
Yeah, force responders. Basically police who are force at the scene. Or even civilians can be force responders. Emergency service, forces from the emergency service. Those are force responders.
But who is supposed to be first at the scene, though?
The police
officially
is supposed to be first at the scene. But most of the times, sometimes civilians respond before the police.
All right. And I know
You wanted to know which departments from the police?
No, not necessarily, just who in general, yeah.
Okay.
So you mentioned civilians are part of the scene. We're probably gonna get to this later down, but I want to ask it right now. When civilians and basically civilians get to the scene first, what are some of the complications or some of the issues that can arise, or issues that you have seen come out of that in the past?
Well, one of the issues is pursuits overcrowding the scenes, which may lead to contamination of the scene or the destruction of evidence at the scene.
Well, just to add, basically, the LOCAD's principle tells us that every contact leaves a trace. And when civilians crowd a scene and get to a scene, basically they contaminate the scene, basically because they would be touching, walking, and even dealing with physical evidence, invisible evidence that we can't see, and they basically contaminate the scene, making it more difficult for police officers and investigators.
All right. So curious question. I happen upon, let's say, an individual who appears to be unconscious, right? Not talking about, let's say, been shot or, well, it could even be shot too. So I happen across this, and in trying to possibly preserve their life, is it incorrect for me to try to render assistance to that person?
Well, if you have training in first aid, there shouldn't be a problem to render assistance. But the correct thing to do is to call for the emergency personnel to come to that area to assist that person.
Okay. And police won't look at me in any regard, should the person subsequently die, any regard as having contaminated the scene.
Preservation of life is basically first key.
Okay.
So it is important for us, for the public or persons who force on the scene, to make that effort in saving the life. At the same time, trying not to contaminate the scene or interfering with basically the evidence or the physical evidence that is present on the scene.
Okay, so somebody has been shot, right? And of course, you're going to have like these spent shells on the ground, etc. But I am still trying to be of assistance to that person. Let's say in the cases of a gunshot, what should I do? Should I tiptoe around where the shells are? What exactly should happen there?
Right. The first thing is you have to determine the perimeter of the scene, basically the extent of it, and establishing the part of evidence, which is basically what you just mentioned, dispensers and things of that nature. And in light of that, you have to try as much as possible to avoid contaminating them or disrupting the scene, so that you could get to the person to assist in respect to that. But try as much as possible not to contaminate the scene.
So also don't walk in the pool of blood.
Correct.
Okay.
Because it is very important for that first responder to be observant. And when I say observant, as Constable Hope mentioned, not to destroy the evidence, because the first responder's responsibility is also to inform persons, for example, police officers who subsequently arrive on the scene, to show them exactly where to walk, where the evidence are located, to prevent further contamination. So the first responder is very important on the scene.
And if it's a stabbing, don't kick with the knife and that kind of thing, right? As much as possible, whatever it is you see there, don't interfere with it.
Yes, please.
All right.
Have there been cases where persons who were first at the scene, not police officers, have damaged evidence per se, or have done things that have impacted the investigation?
Well, yes, that is an ongoing issue that we have, where persons inadvertently tamper with evidence on the scene. And when the crime scene expert, Corporal Williams, is ready to extract the evidence, he will be faced with difficulties.
All right, so Corporal Williams, you want to speak a bit more on this?
No, persons would, let's say, contaminate the scene by, let's say, touching, removing, and so forth. So when you contaminate the evidence now, it will be difficult now for me to extract whatever evidence there is to link the scene to the perpetrator or perpetrators.
Okay. Right.
And very importantly, we may not have a witness at the scene. So the evidence is very crucial, because the evidence can assist us in reconstructing the scene. When he examines the evidence, he can make a determination as to what might have happened to bring these perpetrators to justice.
Okay. So clearly, so let us know, okay, why does the crime scene even matter?
Well, first of all, let's get into what is a crime, right? Because for there to be a crime scene, there must be a crime. Also, there must be a crime scene. So I will get into explain what is a crime and also what is a crime scene. Now, a crime is any act or omission for which the law provides punishment. Okay? Now, a crime scene is any location where a crime has been committed, or where evidence that is related to a crime can be found. So a vehicle can be a crime, a building can be a crime, an open area or a body can be a crime. Now we could go further, we could break this down into two main categories, which is the primary crime scene and the secondary crime scene. Now the primary crime scene is the area or location where the initial crime would have occurred, while the secondary crime scene is where evidence related to the crime is found, because it has to be found in order for it to be secondary crime scene.
Right. Also, to add to what the corporal would have said, also when it comes to crime scene, we have to pay attention to there is a post-crime scene and also a pre-crime scene. Now, to give an example of what this is, now a pre-crime scene, for example, if a report of a robbery comes in and the offender decides that he is going to wait in some bushes for a victim, while there he decides that he's going to smoke a cigarette and throw away the butt, then he's going to change his clothes and put on a mask, leaving behind those that he had on first. Now that becomes our pre-crime scene because evidence will be found at that location. However, after he commits the crime or commits the offense, he then takes the bag of the victim, and for some reason he searched and he decided that he don't want the ID card, the purse, and he decides to leave them in an area along with the knife that he used to stick her up. Now that become our post-crime scene where we would gather these evidence from. So post-crime scene and pre-crime scene are very important to the investigation. Sometimes it be distance away, sometimes it be yards, but these are very important to investigation when investigators can locate these main points.
Okay, and I suppose if persons have heard of an incident happening, like a robbery or whatever has occurred, and the perpetrator has dropped stuff along the way, and persons know of the situation happening, what should they do? If I've come across the book bag in a field after all, the ID card in a field afterwards, what should I do?
Lovely. Now, as I would have explained, that is our post-crime scene, and that scene must be processed. It is very important that you contact the police officer, contact the police station, so that the investigators, the crime scene specialists can come and process that scene, Corporal Williams, because we might very well find that on that scene, the offender would leave crucial DNA evidence, could leave crucial evidence that would link him back to the scene.
So don't touch them, right? Just call police.
Most of the time, posters would bring them to the station.
And now you're encouraging persons to bring them to the station?
when they bring them to the station, they contaminate the exhibits. So, but call and inform the authorities where the CRO personnel would come and process the scene and package the exhibits.
Okay.
And we need to note, however, there are instances where these exhibits would have to be touched. For example, weather condition, if rain is pending. We are advising persons to carefully, if possible, use a glove to package these items before handing them over to the police to avoid as much contamination as possible.
And in packaging, do you put it in a Ziploc bag or paper bag? Because I remember something a while ago about something being in a Ziploc bag when it should have been in a paper bag, if I remember correctly. A story some years ago, well, maybe a year or so ago.
Well, it depends on the type of evidence which we recovered, because plastic cause items to sweat. Mm-hmm. So depending on the items, you place them in the different bags. Let's say it's a cell phone or electronic device. You want to place it in a plastic bag because it could sweat and it could damage the phone. Mm-hmm. If it's something like blood, blood can cause the paper bag to tear. So you don't want to place bloody clothes in paper bags. Mm-hmm. So you rather place it in plastic bags.
Okay. And something that contains a fingerprint, that could potentially contain a fingerprint, put it in a paper bag?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I've heard anything about this or if it has come up in any of our other interviews. Do we have fingerprint recognition systems here?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Okay. All right. Now,
you want to speak a bit more on that? Because, I'm not sure if I've ever come across a situation where I was told that fingerprints help to convict somebody. So we could speak a bit more on that, but we have somebody calling. Okay. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Well, go on.
We are live on WEFM. Do you have a question to pose to the officers?
Of course.
All right, you can
You
go
want me to
ahead.
lock up?
Do you have a
Trying to get me
question?
arrested.
Do you have a question to pose to the
Well, I
officers?
just want to let everybody know what the police them know today's Wall Street today. So I have to start off acting.
Oh, listen.
Come on.
Good morning to
That's
you.
the drama.
Good morning
But
to you.
on a serious note,
Mhm.
support the work of the police. Police is very important to our society, our community, and our law, and so on and so forth. I think, on a critique level, some police officers do uphold the oath. Specifically when it comes to the topic y'all just commented on there, where we're talking about exhibits and all of that. I've had bad experiences. I also know of other persons who've had similar experiences or worse, where persons break into their homes, things of that nature. The person is apprehended, the exhibit is with the police in their storage, and by the time the case is finished, when you get back your stuff, it's worse than how it was stolen, as in the condition. You could tell it was probably under a building, under a house with a whole cobweb or dust. It's not being stored, it's protected. And I think the properties need to be protected and kept safe, or things of that nature. It makes sense you go through a whole process of court case. The person goes to court. Sometimes, based on the charge, you ain't getting back nothing more than just your item. But when you get back your item, it's damaged or in worse off condition than you left it. I think that's something you all need to pay attention to in terms of protecting people, property, and with that thing. I've even seen where on crime scenes, and even a community where there's always a lot of crime. I don't think before some persons are exposed to training, you see them coming on to crime scene contaminating this space. I wonder how are they going to get the evidence from where, how? It's very difficult to extract evidence from certain environment, especially if something takes place in bush or in dirt or in a gutter, things of that nature. You don't know a lot of things that if rain comes and them kind of thing. But I just think there needs to be more training, and I won't just suggest training. I think people need to take the training seriously and take their work professionally, and then what we will have is better handling and better processing and standards where those things are concerned. That's just an observation, not criticizing you guys. I know you try. I know there's a lot of officers who are very serious about their job and uphold with regards to upholding the law. So we should commend you, but some need some work, and we need to improve on those areas. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Take up all yourself, no man.
You too.
Big up
All right.
yourself too.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
So any comments
so-
with regards to what the caller said? Anything you want to say?
Well, I know of previous instances where, like, stuff in the exit room would have been, like, let me say, damaged because of, let me say, computer because of the heat. So what we're moving towards is when we have like electronics and so forth, that is where I come in, right? So I would photograph these items and hand them over to the complainant, and I will give my evidence in court rather than storing them in the exhibit room,
Okay.
so as to avoid these items getting damaged.
Okay.
Yeah, because the period of time sometimes tend to be a lengthy one, and that really impacts the nature of the exhibit over a long period of time. So just to add to what Corporal Williams say, when you photograph the exhibits and hand them back over, then we use the photos to represent the exhibit.
Okay. All right. So back to fingerprints. Do we have a database, fingerprint analyst, etc.? Speak a little bit more on fingerprints for us, please.
Presently at CID, there's a fingerprint machine. Whenever someone is being charged, their fingerprints are taken, their photos are taken. So basically, once you're charged, you will become part of that system. As to the fingerprint export, I'm not sure presently if we do have any, but when that time comes, I believe that things will be put into place for that to happen.
Okay, so when you get to a scene, right? Because remember all of us watching TV, so we have an idea of what's supposed to be happening, right? So when you get to a scene, do you do the dusting for fingerprints? Do you lift the fingerprints? Do you put it in a database, put it up on a computer screen, bring up the image big and compare it to what you have in your database? What happens here in SVG?
Yeah, so that is where I come into play, right? Now, as a crime scene investigator, I will go on a crime scene, do a thorough search of area surface, recover these prints, then these prints can be added to the AFA system. And if there is, like, let's say, a suspect, we could compare these prints that were lifted by me with that of the suspect or suspects.
Okay.
Right.
Sure you don't want to add something? I see a little bit. Okay. All right, I'll leave it alone.
All right, so we will take a break right here. We'll take a short ad break, and then we'll come back with more questions. Listeners, of course, you can call us when we come back, 457-9997, if you have questions for the officers.
Every girl loves curves. Curves is a girl's closest friend. When life throws you a fast curve, count on Curves for ultra confidence, ultra comfort for that time of the month. Curves ultra thin with wings, Curves regular maxi with wings, and Curves overnight maxi with wings. Super absorbent, best quality and value for money. Every girl loves Curves.
Agent Frank B. Armstrong, SVG Limited.
That could have been you. An accident that could have been avoided because your tires had almost no grip on the road. Safety is a factor that should never be overlooked when it comes to your car or whatever you drive. SVG Tire Sales and Services in Falls Avenue and in Arnisvale carries a wide selection of quality new tires to fit any car, truck, minibus, or SUV, so you can experience a comfortable and safe commute every time. We are agents for the world's most reliable brands on and off the road, including Kenda Tires, the king of the mountain, Cooper Tires, king of the road and track, Ostone, the king of the outback, and High Fly, the king of the Asian highway. We also carry new tires for light or heavy duty trucks from MRF, High Fly, and Linglong. A reliable set of new tires keep you, your passengers, and your payload always in the safe lane. So when you need quality tires with reliability at 100%, choose SVG Tire Sales and Services in Kingstown, 457-1467, or in Arnisvale, 456-6444. SVG Tire Sales and Services. Performance and reliability proven when the rubber meets the road.
Sparrows, rum of pure sophistication. Sparrows, rum, aged to perfection. Skillfully crafted and forged with time in oak barrels. A rum so divine. Discover authentic Caribbean rum. Sparrows, premium rum. Sparrows, full-bodied rum. Sparrows, pure sophistication. Discover authentic Vincentian rum. Sparrows, premium rum.
Distilled and blended by St. Vincent Distillers Limited. Please drink responsibly.
Agents, Careers, Distributions Limited.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's a whole new world out there. Reaching new customers and getting products faster. That's what it's all about. Ocean freight rates are skyrocketing, so don't pay more for slower service. It's time to switch to faster, more reliable air cargo service with SkyMax Cargo. Up to 3 flights weekly to and from the USA, Puerto Rico, and the Caribbean islands. Providing excellent import, export, and e-commerce solutions to put you ahead of the competition. For special low rates on small packages and air cargo, contact SkyMax today. 784-456-5400. Local agents SwiftPack Interprime Cargo. Call 784-456-5400 to book your shipments today.
Rise Reggae, the second coming, Victoria Park, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. Featuring the legendary Taurus Riley.
Saturday, April 5th, 2025. Don't miss out on this electrifying night.
Taurus Riley.
She's royal.
Also, special guest Dwayne Stevenson.
Dwayne Stevenson.
A word from the wise, don't try to make life on your own.
Along with Dean Fraser and the Black Soil Band. Get your tickets now. Online at ticketpal.com, Pulse, or outlets island-wide.
Rise Reggae.
It's love, peace, and positive vibes. Saturday, April 5th, Victoria Park. Be there.
Nothing else sounds as good as
WEFM, the clean, fresh sound.
Cop Chat. You've got questions for the police? They're here to give you the answers on WEFM 99.9.
Such a cruel place. Something is wrong with the human race. Preacher man say it's wonders and signs. We are living in the end of times. Where is the love we once used to know? Where is the kindness we used to show? The heart of man is so full of hate. Let's make a change before it's too late. Too much killing, too much blood spilling. Each and every morning, it's weeping and mourning. We've got to stop all the crimes, erase the violence, let our voice be heard. We can't sit in silence. The hope of tomorrow is in our use today. We've got to live in love. Crime and violence don't pay.
We are back with our cup chat in studio this morning with Roleza and I. We have Mr. Joel Williams, Mr. Dilford Collins, and Mr. Nikos Hope, and they are discussing the topic first at the scene, how you can help preserve justice. Remember, if you have questions, you can call us 457-9997. With that number, you can reach us on WhatsApp and also on our landline. And if you don't feel like giving us a call, you can also send us a message on WhatsApp. So let's get right back into our discussion. Corporal Williams, you have a point you're going to finish up, right?
Now, earlier we were discussing fingerprint and the AFIS system. So we had mentioned that crime scene investigators would go on a scene, retrieve these fingerprints, and replace them into the AFIS system. Now, if there is a match, the system will indicate. However, if there is not a match, these fingerprints would be stored in the system until there is a match.
All right.
All right. So I know that initially we started talking about why the crime scene itself matters. And I think you didn't get to fully expand, so we can probably go back to that.
Right. So every crime scene matters because solving crime is a prerequisite process towards obtaining justice. Meaning, in order for justice to prevail, there are certain steps that needs to be taken or followed. Right? So basically, crime scene is the foundation on which every case is built. So crime scene investigators will meticulously analyze, collect, and package evidence, trying to establish a connection between the crime scene and the culprit or perpetrators.
And the reason why each crime scene is unique is because there are many diverse factors affecting crime scenes. For example, there will be different locations and there will be different types of trace evidence, such as DNA. We know no two persons have the same DNA. So there are many unique factors affecting different crime scenes. So we have to treat each crime scene differently in order to gather the evidence.
It's also important because it gives a sequence of the events that would have happened during the crime. It also gives the investigators to figure out the motive of the perpetrator. Also, it helps us to reconstruct the scene. The importance of it helps us to reconstruct basically what would have happened around the scene. So that is why crime scenes are so important.
Okay. Out of curiosity, like how often do you receive training? Do officers receive training in, let's say, new and up-to-date methods of gathering evidence, etc.? How often?
Well, in my humble opinion, I receive training on I would say a regular basis, because myself and Constable Hope, we recently came back from a major crime training in Barbados.
Okay.
And it was very enlightening, and Hope can even speak on it, because there are many things that we didn't know from before that we are applying now that we would have learned on that training.
Yes, and even as my colleague would have mentioned, from that training, it would have help us solve some of the crimes in which we normally deal with on a daily basis. And the trainings that we receive basically helps to enhance our investigation skills and tactics. Now, you would have mentioned how often now the RSS, the Regional Securities Service System, now they normally have courses available to neighboring islands, sistering islands. So we, however, are privileged to be a part and to be counted to receive these trainings from the RSS.
Okay.
Right. Now we're gonna go back to being the first at the scene, right? If I am first at a crime scene, I hear of something, maybe I'm the neighbor, I live close by, or I just, I want to play journalist and I run up to the crime scene. What would you advise me to do if I'm there first? And I'm not a police officer, obviously.
As we mentioned before, the priority is preserving life. If life can be preserved, that would be our main priority. After that, preserving the evidence. If the first responder does not have police tape, they can use barricades, they can use whatever available materials they have to secure the perimeter of the scene. They need to be very observant to know where the evidence is or are. Also to inform the police when they arrive which areas are best to walk to in order to prevent contamination of the evidence. So the person who arrives first on the scene is of utmost importance, because they would be the one who will determine the outcome of the case.
Right. You would have mentioned you being forced to the scene to a home. Now, if you do not belong to the home, but you went and, for example, let us say that there's a dead body inside. Now, you have to make sure, protect or secure the scene so that the whole entire neighborhood doesn't come and, contaminate the scene. So you have to have they have to have rightful authority before they could come into the scene. And you force have to establish, a clear path where there is not any where you could say, okay, much evidence is not here. So we could use this part to get in to see if the person is alive, to see, where the perpetrator may enter into the house. So it is your responsibility for us to, first and foremost, contact the emergency service, contact the police, and then try your best to secure the scene if there is no help in preserving life.
Okay, I'm looking at the issue of crowd control. Because if something happens, as you correctly said, the neighbors might be looking to come. It's one of those things where people just flock to, crimes, scenes of a crime. So what should be done? Let's say if it's a case where something happened within the community, should, let's say, the justice of the peace who's based in the community be present with whoever it is, was the first responder, be present there to help to maybe control the crowd if a police officer can't be found quickly enough, or police haven't responded, haven't arrived as yet. What practical things can be done to help to control the crowd?
That's a very important point. A justice of the peace can be used, or maybe a close friend or relative. You can collaborate with them to, as I mentioned before, use maybe a rope or a barricade to cordon off the area and ask persons to just kindly stay at a distance in order for the evidence not to be contaminated. And something which we notice has been trending also is that instead of preserving the evidence and the scene, persons are more focused on taking photos. And social media, it has been an ongoing issue for the police. So we are humbly asking persons to desist from doing this.
Okay, so speak a little bit more to the social media aspect then.
As I mentioned, we notice persons they take photos of the scene and they post them on social media. These have very negative impacts on the outcome of the cases. It can have negative impacts on the victims, on the witnesses. So it's an ongoing issue that we are faced with presently.
Do you or have you had conversations with media personnel? Because from what I have observed, most of these pictures or videos that are posted online are posted by media houses. So that means that they are not aware of this information. Do you have conversations with them, or have you had conversations with them on this one? Or do you know if anyone has?
All right, so just to add piece to what Dianna is saying, because I don't want to make it seem that they post graphic things. They don't post
Right,
graphic. They
right.
would sort of pixelate or blur up the images, etc. So I think it's most of a person's regular folks who put everything up, right?
Yeah, and that is so true, because also what it does is it gives the perpetrator or the person who commit the crime a view of what he or she left behind on the scene, where he would know, okay, I spot something looking like my wallet. Just an example, which he would know. You would give him a construction of this scene that is left behind. And oftentimes persons would videotape the whole entire scene with, for example, a dead body. They would take pictures of the entire scene. Well, to persons who don't have any knowledge of it, then they would see what happened. But what about the persons who commit the act? He or she would know, okay, I made a mistake here. This is something that I could prepare a defense with, because the police is going to see this. And by the time the police get to me, I would be able to formulate a strong defense where that is concerned.
Out of curiosity, so the person who was calling, you can try calling back. I just wanted for the officer to finish his thought there. But do you think in some regards, though, that the video recording or pictures being taken can possibly help the police as well, especially if you are the first responder? Let's say it's a case where the perpetrator is still lingering around, and you have, after gathering your evidence, you believe that this person is guilty, and then you have the photographic evidence to prove that this person was at the scene of the crime. What do you think? What can persons do? Should they, whatever information they have, like the video or photographs, should they hand it in to police rather than taking it to social media? Because it could help sometimes, to be fair.
Yes, it have its negative and its positive, because it can also help the police to identify possible witness, and even, as you would mention, the perpetrator. It would help to see the persons who were present at the scene. But when you put it out there, it gives perpetrators time to evaluate it and find ways and methods of coming up with a defense.
So what we can advise persons to do, instead of posting it, the police barracks door is open, you can come to the police, and we have an information technology department within the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force. This department is attached to CID. You can come to the police, and we can have these videos or photos extracted from your device by these special persons.
Okay. All right, so we have a caller. Hi, caller, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I just take this opportunity to come in here as a former media practitioner, reporter, whatever, and so on. How things have changed. And I question, I from the old school, who might be a fool, still question what is going on in today's modern society, on which we depend so much on a lot of the evidence in terms of, okay, before I go on there, I was hearing that the first person on the crime scene, however you put it, you can correct me, should be the police. Many a times in my day, I was the first on what I was seeing. Well, thank God I never really had to face up with any crime, right? But I was very quick on where accidents were concerned, in terms of motor vehicle accidents and somebody knocked down or something like that. I mean, that was on my own initiative anyhow. These are different times. You don't expect to be going back, or you're living in the 19 whatever period So I expect with all the technology now, people have to be more equipped and more au fait, more trained and all of that. And sometimes I still see some malpractices, if I can call it, to where the police is concerned. I've observed a lot of things because coming from the old school, but one question I'd like to ask, because I know this used to create some problems sometimes. When the police come, they're driving everybody. They don't give a damn about who they meet and so on. They in some cases, some accident or what, they arrive on the scene and they want everybody to clear the scene. Is that the best thing to happen? Because it may still be happening today when there's any crime situation and so on. But then there are people, I could understand contamination of evidence and all that sort of stuff. Yes, but the police had an attitude at one time when they arrive on any scene. It's like you're chasing everybody, clear here, and that sort of stuff. And that used to annoy a lot of people and so on. And then they have to end up questioning certain people and all of that. So and in my book, let me just make this suggestion. This is something that I think in some countries, police have a better understanding more than in some other countries, with the public, so to speak, and the reporters, journalists who might be on the scene. What about that relationship? Do you care anything about these people who are well respected in some places? Listen for your answer. Thank you.
All right. All right. Who wants to tackle it? Do you still drive people away when you get to the scene of a crime?
Well, for what we've been speaking about for the morning is basically preserving the scene. And when you tend to ask persons to remove themselves, is basically we telling persons that, we move away yourself from the crime scene so that we can secure the scene, so that no contamination of what possible evidence would be there, that you don't contaminate or you don't interfere with the evidence that you can't see.
Okay. All right.
And we don't.
One second. We have a caller. It's okay. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Good morning. I don't know if this is part of your topic, but I now get the opportunity to ask this question. When a police makes a raid in your home or to sort for anything, is it part of the force order that they leave your home as if they usually just drop a bomb in Gaza? I don't know. So I just want to find out. And secondly, if they come looking for a TV, they'll pull out a drawer, lift up your mattress, so you wonder what they're really looking for. So I just want to know if it's mandated that they leave your home in that condition, or if you as a homeowner is obligated to restore it. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, caller. Interesting question.
Right. To add to that question, according to the police criminal procedure code, now it tells us once we suspect any person to have committed an offense or have in their possession any items that are suspected to being stolen items, the police have the right to, take these items to, carry out investigation in respect to these items. So when we go searching, for example, a TV, who knows, there might possibly be more items that are stolen items in respect to investigation that could be questionable. So we have to search the entire perimeter of the home.
But I think he was more concerned with the condition under which the search is done, in terms of, as he said, as if a bomb dropped in Gaza, right? You're leaving it in, well, not you, police officers leaving it in disarray. Is there supposed to be some sort of order, respect a person's home when doing these searches? All right. So, all right.
Well, you see, sometimes based on time consuming, because if we have to put it back as how we met it, time, it might take a bit of time. So the police responsibility is to, we search, looking for whatever items, because in order for us to search, first we must have to receive information, or the investigation must have to lead to a person why we have to conduct a search in your home. So basically what it does, sometimes we search and it takes even going underneath some difficult areas, because persons tend to hide items in areas that we won't even expect. So then we have to search all areas, all points, and sometimes that could leave a little bit of turning up.
Disaster. All right, we have another call. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Pleasant good morning, ladies, and good morning to your officers.
Morning.
I will just try to assist the last caller with this question in respect of the bomb. Whenever police officers go to search a premises, they'll do it in a way, and when they leave, it should be as close to as possible as they met it. The police won't necessarily make back up your bed, put back on the street and so on, but the police, yes, man, it's the police duty to leave the premises as close as possible as they meet it. The police is not the police duty to go and put back the chair, fix the table, you know what I mean? But they will use the discretion and do it. I hope that answered the caller question.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Right then. So we are coming close to the end of the interview. How can we all help to preserve justice? Based on everything that we've said here this morning, right? We're gonna get down to how can we all play our part in helping to preserve justice? Because at the end of the day, that we call on the police a lot. Police, what you doing? You hear that all the time. The police not doing their job and all of these things. So how can we all work hand in hand, especially as it relates to the topic that we have been discussing here? Question open to anyone.
As we would have mentioned before, justice is everybody's responsibility, not just the police. If you see something, say something. Presently, the police have many programs in place where persons can give evidence in court anonymously or where information can be shared with a confidential police officer. And there are many things in place. So my advice to the public is if you have any information to share with the police, you can do it in a very strategic way. And it goes back to the scene, the area of the scenes. If you are the first responder on any scene, try to your utmost ability to preserve the evidence and to preserve the life of the person at that scene until the police arrives.
Also, I wish to add, now the Bible says that justice is joy to the righteous.
Not you quoting scripture.
and it is terror to the evildoers. So as police officers, as citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it is a joint effort that we all help preserve scenes, help solve crimes, help work together in making joy come to persons who are affected, persons who might be innocent towards some of these crimes, who has no affiliation to some of the things that happen. So let us work together hand in hand to bring justice and bring joy to persons who are affected.
Yeah, so justice is a complex concept, right? Meaning that it is not straightforward, right? So we are calling on citizens to do their part because, as I said earlier, the crime scene is the foundation on which crime solving is built. And we call on the public to try and minimize contamination of scenes, destruction of evidence on scenes, so the police can go and gather as much evidence as possible to create or establish a connection between the crime scene and the culprit. So when going on a scenes, be mindful of how you approach the scene. Be mindful of what you do. Try to avoid touching anything as much as possible.
Okay. And let us be realistic. The perpetrators know when civilians cooperate with the police, they know the consequences. They know that teamwork is strength. So they don't want persons in the public to cooperate with the police because they know that it's only a matter of time before the police crack down on them. So we are appealing to the public. Please, it is everybody's responsibility, and the police can't do it by themselves.
True.
I just want to share one thing as it relates to the crime scene and it is an issue that persons are contaminating the scene, going to the scene. They don't know that they're not supposed to be within a certain distance, and they're going in, they're touching things, they're moving things, they're taking photos. And so I think one of the ways that you can get the message across to persons to not do this is to start with the children. Children, when you give them a message, they will take it home. And especially something like this as part of your process to get the information across. I would encourage you to go to these schools, and not just secondary schools, but the primary school children as well. They're good at taking home sorted messages. So something like this, it can let them know, this is, tell them what you told us here, but obviously, break it down for them and let them carry that home to their parents and whoever else. I think that's a step that you can take.
All right. Well, interestingly, to add to that one, it's the same sort of thought, but I didn't even think about school children in this. But given that one of the biggest problems or biggest challenges that you face has to do with the social media posting, I think you can also use the social media to your advantage here in terms of getting this information out, right? So it may not necessarily be directly for you, but maybe to the PR team or the social media team at the police department in terms of either doing posters or little skits to let persons know what they should not do when they get to the scene of a crime. So while we know that on one hand, the social media is negatively affecting your investigations, let's also use the same social media to be able to spread the information in a correct way. All right. So
very important point.
I like the skits part of it. And it's not just because I'm an actress, but that's a really good idea. Yeah, because we gravitate to those things. Yeah. All right, then. So we've come to the end of our interview here. We were interviewing Officer Joel Williams, Officer Dilford Collins, and Nikos Hope of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force. And they were talking about first at the scene, how you can help to preserve justice. Officers, thank you so much for joining us here today. I really enjoyed this interview. This is something that, it intrigued me. So I loved it. All right, then. And that brings us to the end of our interview here. It is now 9:00 and we are going to head straight into our ECCB bank rates